All right, today we're going to dive into a pretty strange and honestly profound first-person account of having a high fever. But here's the thing. We're not looking at this as just some medical symptom. We're looking at it as a key that unlocks a totally different way of experiencing consciousness, of experiencing reality itself. Let's get into what happens when the body's oldest defense mechanism becomes a doorway to another world.
And this quote from the source material, man, it just perfectly sets the stage. See, our journey doesn't begin when you're in the full-blown grip of the illness. It starts in that weird, fuzzy space just before the fever really takes hold. A place where the world isn't wrong, but it's almost right. And that tiny little shift, that's where everything begins to change.
So our journey starts in this pre-fever state. The author calls it an epistemological twilight, which sounds fancy, but it's really that moment where your body knows it's sick way before your conscious mind is caught up. And in that twilight, the very fabric of reality starts to, well, shimmer.
So what does that shimmer actually feel like? Well, for a lot of us, it starts with our senses recalibrating. The first to go is usually sound. Just imagine the hum of your refrigerator. You know, that sound you ignore every single day? Suddenly, it's not just a hum anymore. It's a distinct musical note, like a sad middle C the house has been singing for years and you're only just now hearing it.
What's happening here is our entire sensory hierarchy gets flipped completely on its head. Sound, suddenly, is the main event. Vision, it kind of takes a back seat. And touch? Oh, touch becomes a conversation. A bedsheet isn't just a texture, it suddenly has opinions. It's all just proof that our normal way of seeing the world is just one setting, a default setting that a fever can change in an instant.
And as the temperature begins its slow climb, the whole experience gets even deeper. The author frames each degree not as some number on a thermometer, but as a journey to a totally different country, a place with its own bizarre laws of perception, its own customs, its own strange light.
First stop, 99.5 degrees. Now here, the change isn't super dramatic, but it's undeniable. The author calls it a thinning. That solid border between you and the room starts to feel just a little less solid. Just think about that image for a second. A wall becoming a door. At this temperature, you start to feel more permeable. All of a sudden, the emotional vibe of a room, maybe an argument that happened an hour ago, or the deep history of the space, these things become available to your senses in a way they just weren't before.
Okay, now we're at 101 degrees. And this is where something new shows up. It's not just your senses getting louder anymore. It's the arrival of a totally distinct quality, a feeling so specific that the author actually has a special word for it. Accompaniment. And let's be super clear here, this is not paranoia. It's not that creepy feeling of being watched. It's more like an accurate sense of yourself as just one node in this vast, interconnected web. A fact that our healthy minds usually hide from us just to keep things simple. You can actually feel the connections.
Now, at 102 degrees, the mind hits what the author calls a cascade point. This is where your internal processing speed just goes into overdrive. Connections start multiplying way faster than you can possibly keep track of.
I absolutely love this analogy. Your brain literally shifts from thinking in a straight line, A to B to C, to thinking like a network where everything is connected to everything else all at once. From the outside, you probably look confused, right? But from the inside, it feels like a different, more connected kind of clarity.
And this big shift to networked thinking, well, it has this absolutely profound consequence. It completely shatters the idea that we have a single, unified self. It's like the floor just drops out from under you, and you find yourself in a room full of voices.
Wow, what a powerful idea, right? The fever doesn't create these inner voices, it just removes the soundproofing. The single I that we present to the world just dissolves, and it reveals this whole parliament of competing intelligences that have been there the whole time, each with its own specific job.
So let's meet a few of the key members of this inner parliament. First up, you've got the archivist, who's working frantically to keep the story of your life coherent. Then there's the chemist, this pure, rational voice just monitoring all the biochemical processes. You have the witness, which just observes everything, no judgment at all. And then there's the rememberer, which doesn't just recall the past, it actually lives in it.
And this, for me, is just a stunning moment in the account. The chemist, the voice of pure, detached reason, the one just rattling off things like interleukin-6 elevated. It actually pauses its running commentary. It looks at the body's incredibly complex immune response. And it moves beyond just observing to, well, to aesthetic appreciation. It sees the sheer beauty of the mechanism. Incredible.
So, okay, the self is dismantled. What's next? Well, another huge pillar of our reality starts to warp. Time itself. It stops being a river flowing in one direction, and it becomes something else entirely, a vast open landscape.
This comparison just makes such an abstract idea so clear. On the left, that's our default view. Time is a narrow corridor, always moving forward. But the fever reveals the view on the right. Time is a huge room. You can look in any direction, past, present, future, and it's all just there. Remembering isn't reaching back for something, it's just turning your head to look out a different window.
And this is the question that the whole experience just forces you to ask. The author's Remember a Voice? It doesn't just recall being 8 years old in a kitchen. No, it enters that moment as if it's a living, ongoing place. It makes you wonder, what if the past isn't gone at all? What if it's just happening somewhere else on the map of time?
So finally, what happens when the fever breaks and you return to normal, healthy life? Do all these profound experiences just evaporate like a dream? Well, not according to this account. The knowledge you gain, it has a lasting impact.
When the temperature drops back to normal, the insights don't just disappear. They go underground. They become a permanent part of your understanding, this sort of background knowledge that subtly but profoundly changes how you see everyday reality, even when you're in perfect health.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole thing, the core takeaway. The fever introduces you to these other realities, right? The parliament of voices, time as a landscape, the self being permeable, and once you've been formally introduced to these things, you can never fully go back to being a stranger to those parts of your own consciousness.
And so we're left with this question. This account suggests that hidden right inside our own biology is a key to other ways of seeing. And if a fever can introduce you to a reality that your healthy mind normally keeps hidden, can you ever truly be unintroduced? It really makes you wonder what other hidden landscapes might be waiting for us, just a few degrees away.